When you're learning a language, grammar is often the thing people struggle with the most. And the advice they'll give you is usually pretty bad. It's either one stream or the other. If you go to classrooms with traditional teachers and do grammar books and all of that, you'll be studying endless grammar rules and doing exercises, multiple choice, all that stuff for years often before you learn to speak the language, and it won't work very well. And if you ask uh, comprehensible input gurus on YouTube, they will tell you the exact opposite. Just immerse yourself in the language, bro. uh, Listen to the language, watch videos, and you learn all the grammar in context. And in my experience, neither of those approaches are very effective. And what works best is something in between. So, first of all, grammar is less important than vocabulary. All right. I would say grammar is even less important than pronunciation as well. You need to know it, but you don't need to study it. And if you do it right, it's not that difficult to learn. I'm going to show you how I do it. Basically, what you should focus on first is learning a lot of words and a lot of sentences, right? You want to learn a lot of words in sentences, and you want to listen to the language a lot, and you want to speak the language a lot. And just by doing that, you might learn grammar incidentally, but I do recommend you learn the grammar deliberately as well, by not by studying the rules, but by learning specific sentence lists that cover all the grammar. So what I'll do is something like this. I take a list like this one here, um, of all the grammar points in a language. So if you go to a classroom, they'll give you a list of grammar points that you need to know in order to know everything at an A1 level. Let's say you need to know how to speak in the present, conjugate the verbs. It depends on the language as well. There are grammar points in Spanish that don't exist in English, and there are others in Russian that don't exist in Spanish or English, etc. So there's some overlap, but there's also things that are very specific to one language or one language family, right? The grammar points you need to learn, the list of grammar points you need to learn changes from language to language. So, but there'll be this list of grammar points you need to learn for every level. And normally I don't like the level thing that much, but to learn grammar, I think it's a good idea to use it. So basically, you take the list of grammar points of that level. Like you need to know the past tense and the subjunctive and the this and the that and the conditionals, and you can find a list easily anywhere, or you can use AI to create your own list. Like ask ChatGPT, give me a list of all the grammar points in Spanish for B2 level, and you get all the B2 level stuff. Of course, you should learn the previous levels before that, right? Grammar is the only thing I recommend doing this for. Again, focus on learning your own sentences as well, and most of your time and effort should be for that. Learn your own sentences, and you'll incidentally learn grammar pretty effectively just by doing that. All right, but in order to make sure that you understand how grammar works well, you can do this exercise with more sentences. So basically, you take the grammar points of the first level, A1 level, and then you generate example sentences of each grammar point, 10 or 20 of them, right? And if there are 10 or 20 grammar points, 10 or 20 example sentences each, we're talking about a few hundred sentences. But a few hundred sentences like this, all right? So it's like, um, this is a present, like yo leo libros, María cocina pasta, ellos estudian español, nosotros bebemos agua, blah, blah, blah. And then later on, it'll be like, uh, we're friends, she's at home, the coffee's hot, like this, like describing things, so adjectives, basic adjectives. And then it'll be like frequency, right? Uh, it's not really frequency. I don't really know what it is. But that's the thing. If you get rid of the names, like the technical terms, I think it's better. Even if you learn it in an organized way, but if you tell ChatGPT to not uh, categorize it, just give me example sentences ordered but without categories, all in one list. What you'll get is something like this. So uh, you'll get all those things, example sentences in order, but it won't give you exactly what you're studying. So it's not like you're okay. Now I'm studying the subjunctive. Now I'm studying pretérito pluscuamperfecto, blah blah blah. That Spanish has insane amounts of those things. I used to fail in school, even if I, like, as a native speaker, I used to fail this. It's insanely complicated when it comes to, like, I used to fail the, like, analyze the sentence. Let's break it down. Let's identify the blah blah blah. It was boring as hell. Uh, then when it was time to speak or write, I would do it really well. So basically, I'd rather do it, and most people, in my experience, rather do it without all the technical terms. Some people like those, like 1 out of 10 or something like that. And usually, those are the people who end up becoming English teachers, for example, language teachers. People who are really into grammar and things like that. But most people hate it, hate the terms, like the present tense and the past perfect and the participle this and that. Like, yeah, let's do it without any of that. So you take those terms, the list, and you ask ChatGPT, or you can use my list. Link in the description for the 30-day challenge. You'll get all of this there. But basically, you take sentence lists with all that grammar for A1, and then another one for A2. Yeah, this is like, I've done this, he's done that, blah blah blah. Then it'll be like questions, hypotheticals, things like that. Like, there'll be more and more complicated stuff, but by level. So you take the first, 150 sentences to learn all the grammar, all the A1 grammar, and you learn these sentences really well, and you'll know A1 grammar relatively well. Of course, if you've been learning your own sentences as well and lots of vocabulary lists with more example sentences, you will have seen this grammar again and again in context, so you will learn it even better. But in order to consolidate your knowledge of grammar, you make sure that you know everything at an A1 level and A2 level after that, and so on, all the way up to C2, which I don't recommend you do, honestly. C1 and C2 level grammar, they're not necessary to be fluent. They just, if you want to write or really fancy stuff or want to give really fancy speeches, okay, yeah, but for the most part, you don't need C1, C2 grammar, because it's just normal people don't use those when speaking, right? A1 till B2 is enough. After B2, I'd recommend continuing to develop your fluency and pronunciation and comprehension, but C1 and C2 grammar, unless you want to speak at a really high level, but not like native speaker high level, but like I use fancy words high level. So for most people, you don't need that. Or maybe do it if you want to pass an exam, but that's it. So basically, you take the list, A1, and you learn all the lines. So take the audio files, you listen while reading from start to finish of A1, of course. And then you read while listening again and again and again. You look up what you don't understand without pausing, just keep going and quickly look it up while you're listening and reading simultaneously. Once you understand it relatively easily, then you listen while reading and you say everything aloud as well. You shadow it and you do it from start to finish several times, 10 times if needed. And you download the audio file and you put it on your phone and you listen to it again during the day, several times a day for at least a week. And just by doing that, you'll learn all of A1 level grammar pretty easily. Um, you can also test yourself by reading the English, trying to say it in Spanish, and then you check if you have said it correctly or not. You get feedback, and this way you learn to use all the conjugations and everything correctly, right? You say the coffee is hot and la café está caliente. Oh no, it's el café. Okay, next time I'll say correctly. And you'll do lots of mistakes, and then you come back, you try again, and the second time you'll make much fewer mistakes. The third time, much fewer mistakes, and eventually you'll make almost no mistakes. And once you've done that with A1 grammar, you do the same thing with the A2 list, and then there'll be an B2, a B1 list, sorry. Um, and you just keep doing this with 100, 150, whatever sentences there are per level. And this is how you learn the grammar naturally, like in context, but in a structured way instead of just winging it. Just get exposed to it. Just speak, talk to people, bro. Watch TV, bro, and you'll learn the grammar. Now, you could do grammar exercises if you're really into that. Like if you are, that's 10% of people who really like that. Go do them. But if you learn sentences, you memorize lists of sentences with 10 or 20 examples of each grammar point, you learn all the conjugations easily, right?